It's
Yes,
rewind
we are doing
time.
open area. Yeah. So yeah, basically we're just gonna talk about how we plan it, how we execute it, and then what we do afterwards. Um, one sec. Oh yeah, and hopefully in terms of broadening out a bit, we'll also talk about vehicle operations in the future. But today should mostly be about this urban clearance. Now, due to the fact that we had some technical problems,
He just stops talking. Hello?
oh,
Oh, hello?
hello,
Hello?
Yeah, I just
Hello?
lost connection.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
lost connection
me
I
too.
think everyone.
I think your server's acting up, Toast.
It's fine now.
It's at the
Yeah.
Northern Irish internet connection.
Yep. After, yep.
The irate
So-
bombed the data center. Alright.
Essentially, we want to break it down into three key objectives for our operation in terms of clearing this urban area. So A, we need to establish some kind of observation point and or entry route. We may not always do an observation point. Obviously, it depends on the immediacy of our operations. So I would consider staff to be a pretty immediate unit in that it's not a case of a recon unit goes out, does scouting, comes back, and then we draw up a mission plan. It tends to be, well,
It's mostly Rico maybe Hansen going off on their own and then we never see them again.
I mean, even when we're not callous, we're still immediate in that we go there, we observe, the base or whatever, and then we attack it. Whereas, obviously, more conventionally, it would be a recon element going out, doing the observation, making notes, then, like, the team leadership and the command would draw up a plan, and then they'd go in. So, obviously, in terms of our unit relevant application there, we are going to be more sort of, explanation. We will do an observation point, and just kind of map out a plan, just to show you kind of the strategy behind it, as much as anything. So that's objective A. B, we need to divide up the entry team, which we've already done, into our elements. So just to keep it simple, we'll say red team is alpha element and blue team is bravo element. Obviously this is gonna be pretty important because we're gonna then allot, and this is objective C, allot those objectives within this urban area relevant to what we call site purpose. So site purpose is essentially what we're using the site for, why we need to infiltrate the site, and why we need to clear it out. So, could anyone think of any examples of why we might need to clear out an urban area like this one?
In case you want to take Kiev.
Yes.
Hostages.
Hostages, yeah.
Anything else? Yes,
Possible terrorist threat?
Yeah. So basically, like Roma said at the start, it could just be we need this area and we want to establish a basic perimeter around it. It could be SSE. It could be hostage situation. So we have HVT that we need to preserve the life of, and then exfil, and that's going to affect basically A, our contingency, and B, how we exfil, because obviously
I have
we want
one
to maintain
question, sir.
Yep.
What does SSE stand for?
Sensitive site exploitation.
Thank you.
So, if we're doing SSE, we want to get in, get it, and get out. And that would usually mean going offset, which I'll explain in a moment. If we want to control the area, obviously we need to set up a perimeter as quickly as possible. Or if we have hostages, we need to get them to a helicopter and get them away from that area as quickly as possible. But as you can tell, every single objective, the site purpose, is going to influence the way in which we react once we've actually secured it. So it's one thing just going in, doing the CQB. It's another thing actually dealing with that entire situation. So again, it is more strategic. It is something more in terms of like the bigger picture and sort of leadership, but ultimately every guy has to know what's going on and be prepared to basically fulfill their objectives via their element. So we'll begin with the observation stage. And we just check. I think there's a hill over here. No, there's not. Cool. So
Not een voorbereiding.
basically in terms of observation, then what we need to do is obviously set up ROP. In this case, we'll assume we're establishing some kind of observation point. So I'm just going to set it as our current position for the purposes of it being easy. We'll call it OP Hello World because, generic terms and all. So if you look on your maps, right, we've got our OP now. I see someone's already established our kind of operating area, so thank you for that.
Let me quickly put
Very
in push
important.
talk, by the way, in TeamSpeak. Hello, test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check.
So, again, there may not be a true recon aspect, but we're just doing the OP for demonstrative purposes. From our OP, obviously we need to get from the OP to the objective, so we're going to have our entry points. Now, let's assume we're approaching from the north. Obviously, I think there's a pretty obvious entry point in front of us. What we don't want to do, though, is just send the entire element on a single entry route. Obviously, having a proven route is good, but grouping up can also have its own consequences. And also, if we think about our attack disciplines back to when we were doing bounding and peeling and that sort of thing and attacking the enemy position, we need to have those dynamic angles. So if we can work from different angles, particularly with a fire support group, then that's going to help us. So I'm going to mark 2 infill routes. So let's assume, okay, blue team, which is our Bravo, I think.
Correcto.
Okay. So we've got
Muchachos, correcto.
essentially entry point Alpha and entry point Bravo. Well, entry route, entry point, whatever you want to call it. The point is actually the end, of course. And at that point, we'll then make entry and follow our own routes to our initial entry, which is obviously the first building and the first door that we make entry to. And that's quite important because obviously we want the element of surprise. Other things we need to think of is obviously how do we get in, also how do we get out. So, getting from one to another, we obviously have to kind of work through this urban area. So what we'll do now is kind of think about first and foremost any key threats. So what I'm thinking is once we split this up, okay, it's probably going to look something like now. I should mention buildings are actually split to 2. Building here, and it's kind of joined. And then these are separates. So what we're going to do is Alpha is going to be responsible for, or sorry, Bravo is going to be responsible for this one.
I guess
This
we
one.
take the other 2 and the ones in the back.
Yep, I'll mark the others now. What we're doing now, obviously, is we're allotting these I guess not sectors because the sectors is really a broader term. But obviously your structures. So we've got Bravo 1, Bravo 2, Bravo 3, Bravo 4, Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3. Now you can kind of see kind of a trend. I guess a line of best fit would be appropriate. So if we were thinking about that, and I'll delete this afterwards, it would be something like that. Again, not brilliant, but you can kind of see how it's divided this urban area between 2 elements. And the reason being, again, these buildings are relatively close to each other, as are these ones, and you can kind of follow these routes to get from point A to point B. Because the key thing is essentially getting from one building to another without having to cross a huge area. For example, this road, right? So this is a main road, and obviously it goes deeper into the objective, with this being our only kind of open-walled point. So that in mind. Now, I should also mention, obviously, in a natural situation, we're probably going to be going over the walls, so I would expect the entry points to be more so here and here. In fact, I'll just correct that so that we may as well keep ourselves right there. Hopefully
I'm
we
sure
can actually...
soft fashion, we just ram a vehicle for the wall.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that can change.
Create an entryway is not one on.
So, yeah. I mean, even in this circumstance, we may expect it to go Alpha 2, then Alpha 1, then Alpha 3, but again, it basically just comes coordination beforehand. This is a rough idea. So, we've now got essentially our sectors. So what this means is, it doesn't just mean, okay, we go in and clear the buildings and move on to the next ones until we're done. Obviously, we need to clear the entire walled area. So it's important that, as a team, we observe our sector, which is, the area in which So, left the line is Bravo sector, right the line is Alpha sector. Alpha does also need to make sure there's just general security going on, clearing out these kind of open areas. And again, we'll get into that as we move through our urban locations. Bravo then is obviously going to be responsible for, this area behind the building, probably this area over here. And finally, we have, I guess we'll call this Charlie 1. And that's essentially where we're going to converge. I'll explain in this scenario why I've placed it at that building, but essentially Charlie building would probably be, for us, our objective building, our priority building. So it's the mission objective relevant to the site purpose. So if the site purpose is SSE, we could probably expect the intel to be in Charlie 1. Doesn't guarantee it, but it's just based on if we already know. If we don't know, then we just have to do that. But, sometimes it's kind of obvious, like, you have loads of really small buildings and then a fucking fortress in the middle. So, usually guess. That said, contingency planning. Again, not a whole lot goes into this, and you don't have to think of every single possibility. But it's always good to just take control of these main roads, right? So the main roads we're concerned about is obviously on our initial entry, we're behind kind of Bravo at least is behind a building, so they're pretty safe. And they're gonna work their way around. We'll kind of deal with this open area, but where it gets tricky is hang on. Is this road? This road. Simple reason being, obviously, you walk out into a big open area like this and just walk down it, you're probably going to have a pretty hard time. So what we need to do is ensure that essentially there's a bit of sort of simultaneousness to this, if that's a word. Basically, we're going to establish a phase line. So in this case, we will call it phase line black because oh shit, that's a bad line. Because it's going to be a black line. So, phase line black. So, what might happen is Bravo clears Bravo 1, Bravo 2, Alpha clears Alpha 1, Alpha 2. Alpha sets here, Bravo sets here. We move in, establish ourselves on phase line black, and then push on to we basically move on. So Bravo might come out and say Bravo set phase line black. Alpha will do the same. Then the coordinator will say move, we'll move up, and then we'll clear the other buildings. Pretty simple stuff, basically, but we're just breaking it down and making sure we're not rushing ahead of ourselves or anything. Again, we want to do a simultaneous entry on Charlie, so it's very important we do not make entry on it or really massively interact with it until the team is caught up with one another. And that's also why it's important to make sure that we're not giving a huge workload to one team and kind of neglecting the other, because maybe one area has a denser sort of tactical environment to it. So, if one area is heavily defended visibly in terms of sandbags, weaponry, and then the other is quite sort of open and civilized, then there's no point just going, 50-50, and, that kind of topples the balance a bit. Obviously, a big thing for us is kind of our attack disciplines. So I'm sure you're all familiar by now with things like bounding, peeling, and just that idea of how we attack an enemy. So if I bring you back to the attack work we did, obviously we'd have ideas like, okay, we have an entry team and a fire support team. Maybe the fire support team's up on a hill somewhere. They're putting down fire whilst the other team moves in. That may happen, so we need to be ready to work with those units. I think it was Tom, your mission. Obviously, when we first came up with the color coordination, we had a problem with the fire support team in that they were supporting the enemy by shooting myself and Mooney in the legs. Obviously, I reference it a lot, but again, it's an experience most of us were at in showing the importance of our communication.
What mission was that?
So do you remember the mission? I think it was your mission on your current campaign when me and Mooney moved to a building, and then Rico just lit up with LMG fire and shot us in the legs, and then afterwards we had a discussion about this color coding system.
Oh yeah, with the
Maybe it wasn't
dictator
Danish,
one, where we need to support the dictator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you were assaulting that embassy building thingy or what?
No, it was a village, and afterwards you ended up executing like 5 civilians.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you.
So yeah.
Right.
So in effect, what I remember, what I said back when we did the assault training was, whenever we move into that position, we tell the other team to shift their fire. So if we were working with a fire support team, they might hear Bravo 1 moving interior. They then know we got Bravo team in Bravo 1. We're not going to engage it, and we're going to move suppressive fire to any positions from which the enemies could potentially attack that. So again, it's about coordination with the rest of the team. One sec. So again, site purpose is important. Why are we there? And just sort of once we've worked our way through this, we need to establish ourselves and make sure we're prepared. So again, with Charlie 1, our plan is to make a simultaneous entry, which is of course when we have two thresholds we're going to enter through. And I'll explain in terms of this scenario the basis for our assault. So as I say, we've got our OP. If we've already planned things out before we leave the base, we just have an FUP, so a form up point. We have our entry route. Now we want to think about our exit. So all I'll say is we want an immediate exit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna offset ourselves. The offset, could anyone maybe guess why we are offsetting ourselves from this position but still staying in the AO?
Sorry, what position are we talking about?
So we're talking about, I haven't marked it yet, but we're gonna offset ourselves. So we're gonna actually move out of this urban area to another area, but we're gonna stay within this sort of operating area. Like we're staying in the same general area, but we're moving out of the urban area specifically.
Well, I guess possible enemy reinforcements, or if there's
Yep.
still enemies in the area that we haven't cleared out completely.
Yeah. So again, there could be IDF, there could be QRF, and there could also be, obviously, if our site objective is, say, hostage extraction, then we don't really need to worry about every single enemy inside because that's not our objective. It's not to kill everyone there. So, all very valid reasons. Essentially, we want to get away from that position because it's a danger zone. So I'm going to place our offset.
Way to the
Yeah.
danger zone.
That means that then obviously we need an exit route. So that will probably be something as simple as that. So we've got our entry routes and our exit routes. We've got our OP and we've got our offset. Cool. So that means for the most part we're pretty much ready to move in. Now obviously that took a few minutes because I was explaining everything, but ideally we'd have, you know, in command, the second in command discussing this. We'd come up with a general plan. In command would maybe take the entry team or the fire support team, and then this two IC would take the other fire team. And that just means again, the two IC can go, okay, I've just heard Bravo's going in, so let's shift our fire, stuff like that. So yeah, communication is really important. I think obviously establishing the boundary with phase line black and communicating with the fire support team and with one another, of course. So, you know, even before we move out, we're going to make sure we both are set on our entry lines. Then we're going to move up. Once we reach our entry points, we confirm that we're set. We make entry within the urban area, through, clear it out, etc., etc. I'm actually just going to mark that because I want to make sure we definitely address it. Cool. So usually we may also establish a rally point. Why we might do that is, let's say our objective is secure a perimeter. What might happen is we move in as the entry team, we clear it out. The fire support team would then move through the proven route. Can anyone remind me the difference between the proven and the direct route?
Proven route. Oh,
Go ahead, Ark.
I was. I'm gonna say proven route is a route another team previously took, so it's safe from either enemy fire or mines, and direct route is just straight through hell and high water, just straight to the objective, not giving a shit what's surrounding you.
Correct. So obviously we'd rather go the proven route. So yeah. They may then move to a rally point, be it so that the in command and the second in command can discuss, or to send guys to our to establish our essentially our 360 defense. So I might say, okay, go to Bravo 1, second floor. You go to Alpha 2, second floor, and watch north, etc., etc. So again, in this case, we're not setting up a rally point in the center because our objective is in Charlie 1, so we don't need a rally point because we're not going to be defending the area. But it's just different markings, and again, that would be like kind of our green marking to reference it in terms of its similarity. So yeah, as far as everything goes, offset. Instead of the offset, we could have, like I said at the start, the site purpose will have a different kind of secondary objective. So we could have the RP with the all-round defense, or we could have like a helicopter extraction, and then we move off of that to keep, because obviously the enemies might see the chopper land and then say, okay, let's go there, etc., etc. Or we may need to really pull out, so get to vehicles, drive away. So in this case, we're just going to move to the offset and then assume that we conducted our business beyond that. So now we're going to talk. I just want to go into the MOUT and talk about some important movements that we might want to consider. So, first and foremost, let's just make sure everyone can jump over the wall. That would be good to know. Shift V, by the way.
We're armor
Cool.
veterans, we know that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's Control V for me, I don't know why. So, another thing we want to talk about is the point man wingman system. So, join me over here. Just stand shoulder to shoulder in front of me. So, a big problem we have in urban areas is obviously it's all fine and dandy doing CQB, but getting from building to building can be quite difficult. So, things like these, right? So we've got a little alleyway going on, we've got a threat here. What we need to do is obviously we need to be watching ahead, but we also need to be watching this guy, but we need to be mobile at the same time. We don't have time to, continuously clear every single area. We need to be hasty. So we're going to employ the point man wingman system. Most of you probably remember it, particularly from us doing our sort of corridor clearance with the split stacks. But obviously we're going to be moving in this kind of split stack formation right up until we reach our entry point. So, Arksing is you're on blue team, you can be my wingman. So essentially what Ark's going to do is he's going to stand on my right side. So whoever's on the right is obviously going to be watching this opening because it's to the right. So that would be ideal. So Ark will just do obviously the moving commands. As you can see, I'm watching his diagonal. He's going to be moving around to the side once we go into that movement. So again, it's your typical T shape approaching from the crossover, not the actual stem of the T. This would be the stem, obviously. I guess just to reiterate for the sake of it, the stem of the T. So obviously, as you can see, we're in the T shape, right? So I'm sure you can all see the shape of a T from the grass because yeah. Basically, what I'm in right now is the stem. So the stem is, if you draw a T, the first line you draw the vertical line. That's what I'm in right now. The reason I call it the stem is because, well, A, it's kind of like the foundation of it, and B, it will alter how we move through it. So with the stem, that means we have an opening to the right and to the left. So we need to do our diagonal X breach where we switch around like this. Whereas if we're in the actual crossover above the stem, we only have the area to the right and ahead of us. That means the guy on the left's going to be moving forward, so the guy on the right covers the side. So, Ark, go ahead and get online with me. Watch the front. I'm watching the sides. You can give the move commands, and then I'll respond to that.
Moving.
Move. As you can see, we then transferred over. I continue forwards. then he gets back in line with me. Doesn't have to be perfect right now because that's really something we'll touch up on when we get to dealing with corridors more in depth. But it's good to know. And again, it gives you an idea for the purpose of the wingman. There's another way we use the wingman, so if you follow me. Okay, so let's assume we're about to make entry onto Bravo 3. I've got Ark on my back because we're up against this wall, and we're about to move around. Now, obviously, the issue for us is in order to get into this structure, we need to move through this open area. So we've coordinated ourselves with the Alpha team. They're now opposite us, set up. We're set on phase line black, and we're preparing to approach. Once we do so, I'm going to be point man, Ark's wingman. Now, Ark's job now, obviously, we're not transferring over any thresholds apart from the corner, but because we're going to be online with each other, he needs to be watching basically the upper areas. So what I'm going to be doing is as I come around this corner, I'm focusing on the first deck. Obviously, I'm going to clear out my initial contact, but focusing on the first deck and essentially keeping my eyes on the initial point of entry on this structure and then stacking up on it. In the meantime, Ark's going to be focusing sort of wider. So he's going to be, maybe he's out slightly wider than me. He's watching basically above us. He's watching the higher floors and whatever else. And of
Those
course,
boys there.
yeah, in depth. Oh, that's a lot of targets. Let me just banish those.
I have to shoot through a crowd of people to defend myself. I will.
Not to
Dus
worry.
like volgt met
Self-defense
dit
situation.
acceptable collateral losses.
Hang on.
What the fuck?
Okay. So, that all makes sense in terms of the point man and the wingman. So point man's up front, he's dealing with the immediate threats. Wingman's covering him, watching those upper areas and whatnot. Pretty simple stuff. Okay.
Jawohl, mein Führer.
Let's get over to OP Hello World and we'll discuss our strategy and I'll get the radios set up.
Hello world.
I'm still there.
This is me.
Oh.
Oh.
Can I get a?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me actually turn on T4.
I did.
How do I turn on T4?
It is on because
You go into options and click on.
It is on
Really?
for him because he's speaking through it. So.
You were the only one who wasn't on voor Tom.
Ja, nou weet ik het wel weer hoor.
Ja hoor.
Ja hoor, echt wel.
Oké.
Jongens, nee.
Okay, so I just want to briefly talk about our approach. So again, buddy teams approaching from our respective areas, pertinent to our initial point of entry. We never want our fire team to group up at any point, apart from our simultaneous entry. Again, if we're all just walking in online with each other, right next to each other, that's good for basic training, but all the enemy really has to do is just target that area and fire some rounds down the road, and they'll have dropped all of us. So by forming in those buddy teams and separating, it means we can still kind of have our pairs and be in groups, but we're also not, one collective meatball that's just running towards the enemy. Obviously, buddy teams are more than welcome to cover one another, like almost expanding the pointman and wingman dynamic to the two buddy teams. So watching diagonals. So for example, if one's on one side of the road and the other's on the other side of the road, one team might be able to see, like, let's say, that wall over there with the windows. If I'm up against that wall, I obviously can't see that open window. But if the team on the other side can see that open window, they need to watch it. So again, it's the same kind of principle. Just think of it as much bigger corridors for the roads. That's kind of the best way of processing the movements. Try and follow the walls around what we call the aspects, so things like, just windows, doorways, all that. And avoid those key exposure points, of course. Now, sometimes it's not always possible, like we discussed with the phase line black over there, but I'll explain how we're gonna mitigate that. But yeah, in terms of the initial entry point, what's really important is we have the element of surprise. So our initial entry is obviously going to be the first door of the first building. So, for example, that door for Alpha 1. So when you're on your initial entry, obviously we want to be using flashbangs throughout. Try and avoid engagement before then, but if you have to, you have to, and just do what needs to be done. Prioritize the low profile entry points, so some doors will have side, or some buildings will have side doors. If you see those, go for them. For now, we'll just focus on kind of the overall movement. In terms of our comms then, okay, make sure we're definitely considering these. So just Alpha Team, I would say designate someone to do radio comms. If that's
Good.
okay, you're doing radio comms. So there's basically
Gotcha.
4 key things you need to know. First of all is moving inside. So if you move into a building, what you need to say is you need to say the building, the actual structure's allotted call sign, and then say moving interior or going in or whatever it may be. So for example, on your first building, you stack on Alpha 1 or Alpha 2, depending on your choice, and you just say, yep,
Can we say penetrating?
sure. So you might say Alpha 1 penetrating, and then you go in, you've penetrated Alpha 1. Upon clearing it, you'll say,
Pulling out.
yeah, Alpha
No,
1
you're
and
not
2,
Not pulling out yet. When you leave the building.
Alpha 1
Now you're
clear,
just filling
pulling
it
out,
up.
yep. You might say, you know,
eigenlijk.
2 coming out. If you're going upstairs, try and do your upstairs, downstairs commands. So do we remember what those are?
Yeah, going into the wrong hole.
This with the decks, right?
Yeah, so it might be Bravo 2 moving to second deck.
1 second to be sure, like second deck, what is the first deck the one you enter at? Or
Yes.
is the first deck the first one time you go up?
So there's no like ground floor. The one you enter on is the first deck.
Check. Okay.
So, also, you know, if we have these key points, right? Take for example, if you look on the map, the entry points, the phase line, and Charlie, and the offset. When you get to all of those, try and say like alpha set. So you might say, alpha set, or like entry point alpha set, or whatever it may be, and so on and so forth. So that means that I know that you're on that entry point, you know that I'm on that entry point, and then we can move in at the same time. Same with the phase line, because we want to move in at the same time. Obviously, in this case, I'm going to be the coordinator, so I'm going to be kind of we call the entry commander. So just in terms of reaching those phase points, I'll be telling us when we execute and move through from those. Same with the simultaneous entry, of course. I already talked about Pointman and Wingman. I'll now basically just go into our objective today. So, basically from here on out, we're kind of operational in this environment. I'll just change the time of day so it feels like some things actually happened between then and now. Because, you know, immersion.
Wow, immersion.
Immersion broke.
Whoa. Okay, hang on.
What's going on here?
So, alright, let's go into the building and then we'll go into our briefing.
Hi guys.
Hi guys, it's Gas here.
Also, try and remember the layout of this building. Wink, wink.
Because
shack
it's
hut.
the same as C1.
So, reference your maps, chaps.
Oh, mate.
Obviously, we've been split into 2 elements. We have Alpha and Charlie. Alpha will be red team. Alpha and Bravo. Bravo will be blue team. We are moving into this urban area because we believe there's some special intel. So, site purpose is SSE. Upon entry, we've split essentially the area, obviously vertically in terms of our Bravo and our Alpha, but also horizontally at phase line black. That's our limit of operation within the first half. So once you've completed your first 2 structures, hold at phase line black. The designated hold points will be here, here for Alpha, here for Bravo. So once we're here and here, I will then direct us to move off of phase line black, completing our designated allotted objectives, at which point we will converge on Charlie 1. I should also add that this is like five since we're coming around here. And again, for Bravo team, an emphasis on this area in terms of just checking out for any additional contacts, and the same with Alpha with this area and kind of in and around here. I should mention in terms of entry to Charlie for our simultaneous, we're going to be forming on the western wall only. We have 2 doorways, one here, one here. And essentially, once we reach the point, it'll be Bravo moving around and then establishing themselves here, and Alpha moving and establishing themselves on the northern door. Again, Charlie 1 has been marked as our site or objective pertinent building, so it's probable that whatever intel we're looking for will be within that structure. So just make sure we're not destroying anything. And again, let's keep it quick. In terms of the building layout, it also divides across, like so. What that means is we're going to have Bravo dealing with this sector, whilst Charlie deals, or sorry, Alpha deals with this sector. Any questions thus far?
Sir Hostage is
Negative.
in the area.
Negative.
Negative. It's all going to be targets. I should also mention we're dealing with stationary targets, so we just go and bang them, then get out. By the way, if you shoot them too much, they'll fall over, but it's like 12 rounds, so I doubt that's going to happen anyway. Once we've completed our objective, it's our priority once we have that actual intel, and there is only one piece of intel within this environment, we then offset ourselves within the AO. So as you can see, I've marked that just to the southwest of Charlie 1. So we'll probably rally up around here and then move off of the exfil route to that offset, and then establish an ARD 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 12, 3, 6, 9, sorry.
What the fuck?
Maar wie was dat?
What the,
I think my my brother's girlfriend found a spider in the
I
bathroom.
thought someone
I
got
thought you
fucking
fucking
murdered.
Echt man.
Cool. So,
Je hebt gewoon een dik man.
not really much else to say. We'll move in, get it done. I'll just set up the radios now. I'll Zeus it and then do a quick radio check.
Right, proper.
Yeah, it was a spider.
Why are people so scared of fucking small spiders?
I mean, Helena has it as
No,
well.
it's
Like
the
any
one
spider,
of
I
the
need to
big ones.
confix. If she found a spider on the bike, she just
Wat,
dropped the bike and got off.
Zo'n grote met die lange poten bedoel je?
Nee, zo'n klein, dik lijf, echt, ja, jongen. Zie
Kraaspin.
ik eruit als een spin-expert?
Waarom ben je meteen weer zo agressief, joh?
Okay, Roma, to reiterate. You got
Agressief
Alpha 1 moving interior, Alpha 1 moving second deck, Alpha 1 clear, 2 coming out. Try and use those. And let me know when you set on your phase points.
Is the
Okay.
spider being murdered right now?
Yeah.
Why?
You can just grab it and leave it outside.
Put it outside, you fucking degenerates.
Celtics, wel. Pieter! Je gaat de spier moeten vrijlaten. Je gaat de spier moeten vrijlaten, zeggen ze.
God. Kanker, Pieter.
Je bent een kankerlul.
Ik ben pizza, hè.
Oké.
Okay.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Before this
get your
escalates.
flashbangs ready. Prepare to move.
Yes, I have my banga banga.
Ich habe das große Banga.
Yes, let's go. Come on, Mr. Roma Roma. Roma Roma. Ik snauw weer vast. Oké.
game soms eerlijk waar.
Bravo set.
Alpha,
AP Alpha.
Why are you talking in the voice chat?
Roma, your in-game chat is also on, so you might
Oh.
want to delete the keybind to that.
krijgt de tering.
Check on one.
Check on one.
Eén telt om.
It's in controls, multiplayer, push to talk. Just delete that keybind.
Is it better now?
Hey, fam.
Klopt.
Check. Also good.
Then alpha shit, eh?
Stand by.
A bit further if you look on your map, Tom.
What?
All teams move in.
Hey,
A
dikke
bit further if you look on your map.
Let's go.
Over het schap laten.
Ik zit er vast. Oké. Laten we dit gebouw als eerste pakken, I guess.
Ja, dat zal het zo zijn. Dus.
Let's go. Gewoon combat pace.
Rent is front.
Maar wacht, pak deze wel eerst, want hier zit de deur aan de andere kant, geloof ik. Oké, call het in.
Bravo 1 moving interior.
Banger ready?
Ja. Opnieuw. Left. Ik zit vast. Dit is heel awkward. Hallo? Oké. Opening right. Oké.
Tacticool.
Oké, move.
Moving.
Ja, clear. Je hebt er eentje hier gemist, Pik.
Dat is slordig, sorry.
Oké, ready banger.
Opening.
Had je al gebankt?
Nee, ik ben even dat de man goed wordt op me doen.
Gaat het goed?
Nee, ik ben echt fucking moe, dus ik zit fouten te maken. Oké, even rustig, één tel. Resetten, dan gaat het nu goed. Oké. Ik gooi hem wel even opnieuw. Banger, draad, catch.
Ik ga links, moving. Oké, let's clear this.
Banger ready?
Go. Clear. Close door.
Close door.
Ready banger.
Opening door.
Go. Okay.
Bravo 1 clear. 2 coming out.
Opening.
Flag,
Clear. Open door here. Bang ready.
Oh. Opening door.
Bravo 2 moving interior.
Ik zit weer vast op.
Ah, ben je naar buiten? Oké. Moet hij dan naar boven, Pik? Zeg even dat we naar second deck gaan.
Yeah, Alpha 1 going up the deck.
Oké, Jeroen. Linkerkant.
Ja.
Ik kijk naar boven, jij blijft bewegen, oké?
Check.
Moving.
Moving to second deck.
Okay, hold here. Close door left. Can you see anything diagonally on the right?
Nog 1 second. Nog
you're
niet.
probably-
Nee.
No, okay. Let's go right first.
Jij rechts, ik links, want anders heb je dood.
Yeah. Clear eerst
Left
the
side?
hallway. First we clear the hallway, you go left, I go right. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Moving. Clear. Close doors.
Clear. 3 close doors.
Moving on
1
you.
door to.
Let's clear this one first.
Check. Oké, rechts.
Ready, banger?
Open een door.
No.
50. Ja, dat telt niet.
If I say ready banger, you ready a banger.
Ja, dat klopt.
Prep,
Oké, ben je ready?
Opening.
Bravo 2 clear, 2 coming out.
Clear.
Clear. Yeah. Red bang.
Ben je ready?
Moving in, going right.
Bravo is set on phase line black, tiki time.
Dus zeg even dat we nog helemaal een ander gebouw moeten clearen.
Toast is stil, de Alpha Bomb is still to move to the other building. Tom, contact.
Okay, from Alpha, tiki time will cover ahead.
Yeah, they already cleared those buildings, so it's fine. On me?
Oh, toch
Jeroen?
wel de A1 kant af. Excuus.
We'll go right first.
Check.
Bang ready?
Ben je ready?
No, me. I have a
Oh, dus
bang.
ik grab banger, sorry. Opening door. Oh, ik heb zo'n.
Ja, dan gaan we hier wel. Dat is een beetje. Go.
Ja, dat is een beetje te clear. Dat is
Ja,
een beetje
dit is
te arm. Ik kan
een beetje
natuurlijk niet
awkward.
zien welke deur die.
Stairside doors, kan je het zien. Oké, prep bang.
Ben je ready?
Clear. Ja. Ik zal even dat er naar buiten komen ook.
Alpha 1 down, Alpha 1 going down on deck.
Dat we naar buiten gaan.
Ja, anders doen we dat. Alpha 1 is cleared, we're moving out of the building towards Alpha 2 now.
Oké, game. Hallo. Ah, that counts. Oké. Jeroen, prep bang.
Ben je ready?
Opening. Quarter multiple closed doors. Let's take this one behind us first.
One second, I want to see, check the corner around it.
Don't push him too
Goes
far.
further, Tom. The corridor goes further. Nou, die corridor gaat nog verder.
What?
Meer kant op. De corridor gaat daar nog verder, zeg maar.
Okay, I'm moving. Clear.
Check.
Back. Let's clear this one first. Behind. Here.
Helder.
Right back.
Ben je ready? Nee, wacht,
Door.
check. No. Fuck, ik heb er geen meer. Dit is een ander ding.
Bang. Clear.
Clear.
Moving up. Okay.
Ben je ready?
I'm ready.
Open it.
Clear.
Clear. Good banger.
Yeah. Hold up. Go. That's the main door. Wel wat sneller bewegen, man.
Ja.
Clear.
Oké, zien. Target front.
Yeah, don't move into threshold if you don't know what's there.
Nee, mijn magazine was empty, Tom.
Ja, bastard.
Dat is lekker vandaag van juist.
Ben ik ready?
Ja. Opening.
Next time if you're gonna move right, then instantly move right, please, and don't go like this and then like that, because I got confused.
Dank je.
Ik kan even second deck gaan.
Go to second deck. Af.
Oké, again. Ja, het linker aan vloek. Linkerhoek, kijk naar boven. Move. Nice. Okay, check the corner.
Bye.
Clear. Let's clear this room first here.
Ja, veel. Nee, de deur zit dicht.
Ja.
Ben je
Ready?
ready? Ben je dan zegt dan ben je ready? Je hebt het lijstje staan hier. Opening door.
Hurt me for some reason.
Clear.
Clear. Moving out. Ready?
Opening.
Clear.
Clear.
Jij mag kiezen.
Links. Want groen links.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking kut deur, echt.
Coming in, boys.
Clear. Last one.
Hello there.
What are you doing?
I just wanted to make a little point, an obvious point, seeing as I'm here, because we're just waiting. I was watching on Zeus. See, for this one, here's my advice. Obviously you guys went into an X breach. The only concern with that is we got a threshold uncleared here, and we got a threshold uncleared here. So basically, this was a bit of a dangerous position because you don't have that depth, that fighting depth. So you couldn't really retreat anywhere if things got bad from other thresholds or from this one. What I'd say rather is if the point man's on the left side of the threshold stacked up here, the other guy should be on the right side of him in a split stack, and then he sends in the bang, and then the point man goes in, right? So the guy's on the other side, watching into it, throws the bang in, and then moves in as the wingman. So you can try that for this door. So if you all get on the right hand side of the door, and then get into a split
I
stack.
have to bang, so you get. Okay.
Ja, ik ging al.
Ready?
Opening.
Go.
Also, Romer, are you able to fix your speed, or is it stuck like that?
No, I mean, this is the thing. Yeah, I did this.
Try and
That's
yeah.
too fast.
it's better with that because once you got the flashbang in, you want to get in there quickly because then
Yeah.
it'll need to deal with you anyway.
As well.
And also, again, like, it's just a tip, but if you go in a room, don't do like this and then go to the left, because I get confused. If I see you go right, I want to go left, and then you suddenly change to the left, and then I get fucked.
Yeah,
like-
I get the
No, fair
correction
enough.
in this case, but again, point my
Yeah,
right.
I mean, sure, but then if you go in like this, and then just move to the wall instead of going
Yeah,
left.
it's an assessment you should have made to begin with when you entered before you entered the room anyway in terms of how they hit. But again, learning points. Okay, once you guys are wrapped up, we'll meet at. You guys can carry on. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, we're done with the building now.
Yeah. Let's go out, boy. Two coming out. Alright, Alpha on face line black.
Entry team, move in.
Dylan, get ready.
Ready.
Bang ready.
Grab back.
Opening.
Bravo 3 moving interior.
Alpha moving interior. Very good. Right. Ready on the door?
Ja,
Bang ready.
open.
Clear. Stack up.
Ready.
Bang ready.
Opening.
Good. Stairs here. Change mag.
In your 6.
No, you go first. I have bangers.
All there.
Ready.
Opening.
Oh, I fell. Alpha upper deck.
Alpha.
Bravo attack.
Alpha 1 clear. Alpha 3 clear. Eyes on C1.
Run. Let's move out.
Ja, ik dacht wel even een boven koffer moesten geven als het kon.
Two coming out.
Bravo team 2 coming out.
Ready?
Bravo 4 moving interior.
Out.
Ik denk dat dit wel leuk doet, zo.
Ah. Ik heb ook wel gemerkt dat het in missies ook wel helpt als je een beetje weet wat je aan het doen bent.
Ja, nee, dat sowieso. Ik heb zo zei, ik ga morgen even met Monier zitten om die mods te bespreken die hij gestuurd had, waar hij interesse in had.
Oh ja.
Een half uurtje van tevoren join ik even de Teamspeak server met hem en dan kan het even snel.
Ja,
gaan.
die
Ik
auto,
stel me wel direct.
die M-Rip zag er wel nice uit.
Ja, en ook wat hij zegt, die wapens, ik bedoel, dat is hetzelfde wapen met gewoon een verbeterd model, dan ja, waarom niet weten.
Ja.
Bravo 4 clear, 2 coming out.
Dat is wat hij zeg maar van doet, zeg van doe deze 15 wapens erbij.
Alright. Let's go.
En ze moeten die andere nog
Alpha
checken.
4 and Charlie, Bravo is clearing up the sector.
Ik kan er nog niet naar C1 of wel? Nee toch?
Now we're just holding it.
Ja, ik dacht al.
Oh ja, we gaan de voorkant nog aan.
Waarom kan blijven mijn character dat zeggen? Dat is fucking tof.
Wat?
Freeze.
Ah, dat is een keybind.
Ook hoe lang ben je thuis bezig was, gewoon een fucking hoorcollege dit man.
Bijna wel.
Nee. Ik zit zondag gewoon aantekeningen te maken, dat deed ik de vorige keer ook al.
Je stopt er meer moeite in dan sommige mensen in mijn fucking werkgroepen.
Nee, serieus, de tijd die hij erin steekt, ook gewoon met het documentje voor die mods, ik gewoon uitgelegd, fotootje dit, fotootje dat, weet je. Hij vindt op zich ook wel, ik vind oprecht ook de game leuker, ook op de zaterdag leuker geworden door hoe hij de leading doet.
Ja, het is tenminste geen monkey mode, overal inrijden en alles overhoop schieten en dan weer weg.
Ja, dat kind zit nu in Oekraïne, hè?
Serieus?
Ja. Als hij niet liegt tegen me wel.
Entry team move to Charlie.
We waren laatst bezig om in Mario Pool te proberen te komen, maar dat
Alpha
lukt nu
moving.
niet.
Alright, Jeroen, stack up left side.
Ja, Alpha erdoor. Ready?
Bang ready.
Going ready, stand by.
Copy.
3,
Ready?
2,
2,
1.
1.
Bang out.
Ah, my bang just go.
Clear. Arc.
Yeah.
Go.
Behind you.
Eyes on target,
Clear.
eyes on target.
Securing intel. Hold my back.
Friendly's coming in.
Intel secured. Let's move out.
Let's
That's
move
it,
to the
clear,
RP.
Go.
Oh, nice. Cool. Oh, okay.
was about to say we weren't gonna move off.
Here we are. Mission succeeded. Dun, 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 dun.
Holding
There
west.
Where's my scenario end, Toast?
Holding south. Disregard. Holding east.
Holding west.
Nice work. Form up on me in the center.
Cool. So again, as you can see, there's a great value to that. It just kind of brings together what we do in terms of our CQB and kind of gives it some purpose. Obviously, a lot of the time, we're kind of just talking about room-to-room stuff, or assaulting the actual position. But now what we've kind of done is combined the two sort of principal areas of training, and brought that into something quite important, I think, for us as contractors of staff, obviously. Obviously, it's never going to be to that milsim standard. Things like commands, for example, like you don't have to use the exact commands, one-to-one, like second deck. Even if you just say like alpha moving upstairs, we know that you're only going to be in one particular building, and we know what upstairs means. It's really not a huge deal. But again, it's just remembering those kind of core ideas, those concepts that really helps us out. And again, for me, it's one thing, setting up a training like this where I've got plenty of time to observe the environment. It cannot always be as planned in actual situations, but the hope is really I'll do my best to try and integrate that more into the I'm leading. But yeah, again, if we break it down, what we've got now is a pretty decent CQB methodology. Again, it's not perfect, but to be honest, I never really expect it to be perfect because whilst we can have that perfect entry, right now we're more than capable of a successful entry with what we have. Those little things like which way to go and all that stuff. It can have an impact in the situations where it matters, but I think overall we're in a really good position. I think in terms of addressing our methodology of attack, again, we're underlying these principles of having the entry team, our support team, and now we can fully integrate those. So this training has essentially been probably one of the most important we'll ever do because it brings all that together. And we'll definitely continue to practice this through scenarios. The coming weeks I'll try and do more situations like this. I think in terms of training now, what we want to do is look at those two areas we've already covered in terms of attacking enemy positions, BQB, and hone in specific skills on that. But also then look at some less conventional skills that I think, given that basically everyone here is obviously in staff, Brandon's here now and again. Really focusing on stuff that we can apply to other common roles we have. For example, vehicle operations is something I'm definitely going to be looking into. So, A, convoys, and B, engaging around vehicles, because we do that a lot, and I've got a lot of exciting new stuff that's really going to help out.
And staff is notoriously retarded with vehicle combat.
Yeah. Again, it's not an area I know a whole lot about, but I'm looking into it and I'm getting some basic principles.
Just with the way we often use vehicles, pretty much any tactic is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to be the Dutch, I don't have to change the English, but we have a part of our doctrines online. I can try and find the sections and translate some of it.
That may be helpful. But again, it'll really just be fundamental stuff for the beginning. Also then looking at more sort of developing the unit in terms of our skill set. So I maybe one day want to do something on and this is probably going to be more of one of those staff trainings than the Atlantic group, but it'll be sort of like drone operation, things
like with the vehicle training as well, it might be a good idea to try to do that on our training server and try to get some more people.
Yeah, for that probably. I think the main purpose of me doing this specifically is it means we can have these entry team guys, such as yourselves. So it means if we are attacking a position, we can put the other guys on the fire support team. So like the medic and the LMG guys and whoever, and then we can run entry if it comes down to that. Again, the team composition is never perfect, but it'll develop over time. I didn't really have very much else to add. I'm not sure how long this has taken, but it certainly feels like a shorter one, obviously, just because we've only really been talking about one area. But I think rather than as we usually do, going to different areas for various examples, sometimes it's nice to just look at this one sort of position and break it down, and really focus on our strategy. As I said, I didn't really plan any further than that. But it's a nice solid little session that we can look back at, and hopefully that maybe some of the guys in the rest. And I don't even know why I'd say that. Of course, they wouldn't look at this, but yeah. If there's any questions in terms of this or anything else, then now would be a good time to mention them. That's it. Other
One
than
more,
that,
but it's more for me because I kept getting confused with that form. To make sure that I have it correctly in my notes. Is it?
You're cutting your cut
And then
off.
the other one says banger ready, right?
You cut off.
yeah.
That's fine. Because I kept making the mistake with you. The person that wants to enter, he's this. I'm just gonna draw that myself. Again, the first person that wants to enter, he says ready banger, and then in this case you say banger ready, and then
Yeah.
I open the door. That's the order, right? So
Yeah.
I kept fucking it up.
Yeah, like prep bang. So you'd say prep bang.
Yes. Boy,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if the person that says prep bang is going to open the door and
Yeah,
move
no, I
in
know.
as the first guy.
Ja,
Like,
en dan
the
prep bang,
secondary
banger
guy
ready.
is the one that tosses the flashbang.
Dan heb ik hem nu wel goed staan. Had ik hem verkeerd opgeschreven, excuus.
So it's basically, if I say prep bang, you prep a bang. If I say, sometimes I also say, it's also a mistake by me, maybe that I just already say bang ready, but then you know that you open the door and I toss in the bang and you go in first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've done that with Ark a few times where I just say bang ready off the bat because
Yeah, that
you know,
confused me once or twice. It was like, do I need to prep the bang now?
No,
Because
if you hear bang ready,
Yeah.
it means I have one ready. Then and
and
if I
otherwise
want
give the
you to
command,
do
like,
it,
you
then
take the
I'll
banger,
just
then
say
it's like
prep
prep
one.
bang.
Yeah.
Helder.
and
Okay.
also yeah, in terms of using like who's point man and who's flashbanging, obviously point man is going in, wingman is always flashbang. If it's a double stack, so we have a guy on left side and right side of the doorway, guy on the left is typically point man, guy on the right is wingman. Obviously, we discussed at the corner fed where the circumstance where we may not do that because the wingman actually has a better initial contact area, so they may then the point man may then say you will breach, and then it switches around. Also, if when I came into you guys on the second floor of Alpha 2 to discuss the split stack, again remember whoever's closest to the door is the point man. Given that you're all on the left hand side of it.
Yeah,
And
that
again,
was also
if that
you
was...
didn't have any more bangers, so.
Oof. And also, if you have 4 guys, then the stack on the wall closest to the door goes in, and then the stack on the outside will either go in as a support or will do their own doorway if we're doing that kind of like D-shape sort of thing. So yeah, but again, we'll just keep practicing and bone in on that.
Very good. Any
Okay.
more questions, class?
No.
Alright. Then, can I end the recording?
Yeah.